Martell Holt missing from an own event has now turned into yet another moment that people cannot ignore. And the way this situation unfolded feels different from the usual drama we have seen around him. When the photos from the event started to come out, when the network posted their official highlights, and when fans began pointing out who was there and who was not, it became clear that something was not adding up. Martell's absence stood out in a very loud way. It was not a small gathering. It was not a low-key event. It was a major own function with cast members from different shows, returning personalities, new promotions, and the network showing off what they wanted people to focus on going into the new year. Yet the one person who has always been front and center, the one person who usually makes sure he is seen, was nowhere around. As people looked at the group photos, it became more and more shocking that Martell did not appear in even one shot. There were so many group pictures. There were cast members smiling, laughing, posting selfies, and sharing behind-the-scenes moments with each other. There were clips of them walking into the event, standing on the carpet, celebrating their shows, and supporting other own stars. But Martell was not just missing from the main photos. He was missing from the entire night. Not a single person captured him. Not a single post showed him walking behind the scenes. Not one cast member shared a picture of him. That is the type of absence you cannot overlook, because someone like Martell never misses a moment to be seen. The first question that came up was simple. Why was Martell not there? Because normally, when the cast is invited to an own event, especially one tied to the network's upcoming plans, the expectation is that the main faces of the franchise will show up. And Love and Marriage, Huntsville is still one of the biggest shows on the network. Even when the ratings fall, even when people argue about the storylines, even when the cast divides into different sides, the show still carries weight. So, seeing everyone else from Huntsville show up, Carlos King, Tisha, Marceau, Kimmy, Maurice, Nell, Chris, Destiny, and others, but not Martell, immediately raised alarms. This is the same Martell who always shows up whenever he needs to defend himself. This is the same Martell who shows up when it is time to push a storyline. This is the same Martell who shows up when there is a chance to speak, argue, or make himself the center of attention. But suddenly, at an important own function, he is gone. And people cannot help but connect that with everything that has been happening over the past few weeks. The irony hits even harder when people remember the NAACP event. Martell was missing there too. That event also included own stars from multiple shows, and again, Martell's absence was very obvious. At first, people did not think much of it. They said, maybe he was busy. Maybe he had something else going on. But now that we're seeing him missing from another major event, it no longer feels random. It feels intentional. It feels planned. Or it feels like something happened behind the scenes that the public does not know yet. When the network shared clips of the event, they made it very clear who they were shining the spotlight on. Nephew Tommy from Ready to Love was there. Ayanna Van Zant was there, promoting the reimagined version of her show that is supposed to return early next year. The new cast from Heart and Hustle Houston was there. All of them were highlighted and placed front and center. OWN made sure to show them laughing, hugging, talking about their upcoming seasons, and giving the network good energy. Then you had the LAMH cast. Carlos was smiling. Keisha and Marceau were joking around. Kimmy and Maurice were interacting with people. Nell and Chris were present. Even Destiny, who recently stirred confusion online by calling Martell's child with Ariane her nephew, was there enjoying herself. They were all represented, but Martell being nowhere in sight cannot simply be brushed aside. People began asking, was he uninvited? Did they tell him not to come? Did something happen at the reunion that forced OWN to step back from him? Did the cast decide they no longer want to film with him? Because when you combine this event with his absence from the NAACP gathering, along with the court situation, and the way he claimed he had to miss court because he was filming the reunion, it paints a strange picture. The excuse he used for missing court made it sound like OWN was depending on him, like he had obligations he could not skip. But if Owen truly needed him, why was he not at this event when the rest of the cast was clearly welcomed? For a long time, people have noticed that Owen has never held Martell accountable for anything. No matter what he did, no matter what he said, no matter what came out online, he always remained part of the show. He always stayed in the spotlight. He always kept his storyline, even when people felt he crossed lines that should have had consequences. But now, the silence from the network is creating concern, because Owen knows how to promote their stars. They know how to push people forward when they want them to be seen. And they know how to quietly remove someone when they want to distance themselves. This makes Martell's absence even louder. Another strange thing is the timing. This event happened right before the holiday special that is supposed to air on December 13th. That means the people who attended the event are likely part of that holiday special. That means they were present to support that episode. So the question becomes, is Martell not part of the holiday special? Did they film something without him? Did they have footage that did not include him at all? Because if he had filmed something for the holiday episode, he would have been at the event to promote it. And if he is not in the holiday special, that is another hint that something has shifted. People have also been trying to understand if something happened during the reunion that caused a big change. Because the reunion has been described as one of the messiest reunions yet. There were rumors that arguments went too far. There were claims that things were said that crossed lines even further than before. Some people think Martell may have done something on the reunion set that the producers did not appreciate. Others think the cast reached their breaking point and decided they were done with him. There are also questions about whether production is trying to restructure the show. Maybe they are focusing more on certain cast members. Maybe they want to highlight new storylines. Maybe they want to avoid drama getting too dark. Or maybe they are preparing the audience for something big so that Martell's absence becomes part of the storyline later. Even though many viewers have been frustrated with Martell over the years, they still understand one thing clearly. Martell being missing from the show would take away a major piece of the structure. Because whether people like him or not, he has been at the center of most of the major storylines. The cheating scandal, the divorce, the social media fights, the arguments with different cast members. Martell has always been a source of chaos that keeps the show moving. So if he is suddenly removed, the cast will have to adjust, and the show will have to reshape itself from the ground up. Another angle many fans discussed is whether Martell simply did not show up because he had something else going on. But when you look at Martell's schedule, when you look at his public life, and when you look at the way he behaves online, it is not likely that he is too booked and too busy to attend an own event. He has always been available for anything connected to the show, so the idea that he had a scheduling conflict does not feel believable. He had time to record voice notes about cast members. He had time to create videos with the woman called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. He had time to discuss things that were supposed to be private. But he could not appear at an own event? That does not sound logical. Something else that people pointed out is how the cast members reacted. Not a single person mentioned Martell in their posts about the event. Nobody asked, "Where is Martell?" Nobody hinted at him being invited. Nobody gave an excuse on his behalf. And these are people who usually give subtle hints. These are people who like posting small messages, indirect comments, or light shade. But this time, it was complete silence. That silence is what caused people to feel something serious may have happened. Because even if they did not want him there, usually someone from the cast would say something online. But not this time. The cast smiled through the entire event. They did not look tense. They did not look uncomfortable. They did not look like a cast that was avoiding someone. They looked like a group that was comfortable without someone. And that is a major shift. Another point that connects to this is the situation with Destiny. Just a few weeks ago, she called Martell's child with Ariane her nephew and suggested a play date. That moment caught a lot of people off guard because Destiny has a history of loyalty toward Martell. But her making comments like that and then showing up at this event without Martell created even more suspicion. Because it looks like Destiny is no longer standing close to him the way she used to. And when Destiny distances herself, that says something deeper. Then there's the question of whether Owen is planning to slowly move the focus away from Martell and toward other cast members. Because in the past, so much of the show revolved around his personal life, his marriage, his cheating, his choices, and his reactions. But now, we are seeing more of the other couples. We are seeing more drama around different storylines, and we are seeing the cast rely on other content to keep the show alive. That could be the network preparing for a shift. People have also been pointing out that the ratings have been declining. The show has not been performing the way it did in earlier seasons. And when ratings drop, networks often make big changes to try to improve the show. Removing a major cast member is one of the biggest changes a network can make. It can be risky, but if they feel the show needs a new direction, they will do it. Viewers also remember when people said that Mel leaving the show would not affect anything. People tried to downplay her importance. They tried to say the show would survive without her. But what happened? The show became messy, repetitive, and lacked direction. The energy shifted in a negative way. And now, with Martell missing from major events, people are starting to wonder if the show is slowly losing all the pillars that once kept it running. Some fans believe this could be a storyline they're building. They think the network might be using Martell's absence as a way to get people talking. They think Owen wants viewers to guess, debate, argue, and create buzz before the reunion airs. And that is possible. Owen has used shock moments before. They know how to get people talking about LAMH. And Martell disappearing from events is definitely something that gets people talking. But even if this is part of a storyline, it is still unusual for the network to leave someone out in such a visible way. If it were a planned storyline, usually there would be a teaser or a hint. But here, there is nothing but complete silence. That silence feels like something happened behind the scenes that they are not ready to share yet. Martell's financial situation also plays a big role in this. As many people know, LAMH is his main source of income. He does not have consistent jobs outside the show. He does not have stable businesses outside the show. He does not have major deals or big projects that require him to travel or stay busy. So if he is willingly pulling away from own events, that does not make sense. He needs this show more than anyone else on the cast. Other cast members have businesses and multiple income streams. Martell does not. That is why his absence has people worried. Because if Owen is distancing themselves, that affects his entire future, and he would know that. So if he had a choice, he would be at that event smiling harder than anyone else, but he was not there. This also brings up the conversation about the video involving the planes, trains, and automobiles woman. That video created buzz, confusion, and embarrassment for many cast members. Whether it was true or not, whether the stories made sense or not, the video created a cloud over the show. If Owen felt that the video crossed a professional line, they may have decided to step back from him until they figure out how to handle the situation. We must also consider that the cast has been showing cracks in their loyalty toward Martell. The men are no longer standing behind him the way they once did. The women have lost patience with his behavior. Even people who used to publicly defend him have slowly stepped away. That type of shift usually comes from something happening behind the scenes. Some viewers also think the cast may have told production that they do not want to film with Martell anymore. This has happened on other reality shows. When cast members reach their breaking point with someone, they tell producers they are done, and producers then have to decide how to move forward. If several cast members join together and said they do not want him there, Owen has to respond. If Martell is truly on ice right now, this would explain why he was not invited to the event. It would explain why he was not shown in any footage. It would explain why cast members acted like his absence meant nothing. It would explain why he has been silent online instead of posting proud photos from the event. But if this is the direction things are moving in, it is important to understand the long-term impact. Because even though Martell creates chaos, the chaos is part of the show's foundation. Removing him could create a new wave of issues that affects the entire structure of LAMH. But it could also give the show a chance to rebuild. The end of the day, Martell's absence from this own event is not the small oversight. It is a major sign that something has shifted. Whether it is a network decision, a cast decision, a production break, or something connected to the reunion, this moment marks a turning point. People will continue watching to see what happens next. They will wait for Owen to say something. They will look for hints from the cast, and they will pay close attention to the reunion, because the reunion may be the moment that answers all the questions. Until then, the mystery remains. Martell was missing. Martell was not included. Martell was not present at an event where everyone else showed up. That alone speaks volumes, and the silence speaks even louder.